When the bus reached its final destination, Ada and her daughter stepped off. She glanced at the sky and muttered a quiet prayer. After retrieving her belongings from the bus's trunk, she found a spot to sit behind a small kiosk. As she observed the busy atmosphere of the city and the happenings in the garage, she took a deep breath and tears began to roll down her cheeks. She felt weak, devastated, confused, and empty. "Life is so cruel to me," she whispered. Caris, seeing her mother's distress, began to cry as well. Mama Koko, an elderly woman in her 50s, heard unfamiliar voices and the sound of a child crying from the back of a shop. Curious, she went to investigate and found Ada and her daughter. She could tell that they were strangers to the area. She gently asked Ada why she was crying. At first, Ada considered making up an excuse to brush her off, but then she realized that she had no money, no plan, and no idea how to start over in this unfamiliar place. So she decided to share a story with Mama Koko. As they spoke, a customer called out to Mama Koko, and she quickly escorted Ada and Caris to the front of the shop, helping them with their luggage. She then returned to serve the customer. Afterward, Mama Koko bought food for Ada and Caris to eat. When the shop closed for the evening, Mama Koko sat with Ada and asked her about her journey. Ada told her everything in detail, how she had been through hell, from being mistreated by her husband to being betrayed by a friend and even rejected by her father. She described the abuse she suffered at the hands of Roland, her friend's husband, and how life seemed to have brought her from one terrible situation to another. Mama Koko listened with compassion, her eyes swelling up with tears as she wept with Ada. Mama Koko took Ada and Caris home. She lived in a small rented room. When they arrived, she gave them warm water to bathe and cooked them a meal. She offered a bed for them to rest while she slept on a mat on the floor. The next morning, Mama Koko woke up early, cooked breakfast, and then left for her shop to make her sales, telling Ada to rest at home. Ada, initially uncomfortable and unsure about what lay ahead, silently prayed that she wouldn't fall into the hands of anyone wicked again. She hoped that Mama Koko's home would be the final place where she could regain her footing and find peace. In the evening, when Mama Koko returned, she bought food for them, and they ate together as they continued their conversation. Mama Koko shared her own hardships with Ada. She told her that she had lost her husband 26 years ago. Before he died, her husband, Mr. Adam, had been set up by a colleague who falsely accused him of stealing company money. Mr. Adam died in police custody while the case was still under investigation. Later, it was discovered that he was innocent, but by then, it was too late. Mama Koko sells local pap, locally known as cocoa, and bean cakes, locally known as akara, at the garage in the mornings, and in the evenings she sells akara and bread, fries, cold drinks, and various snacks. Coco had been her first business when she started hawking before she managed to open a shop. Because of this, she was well known and became affectionately called Mama Koko. Mama Koko had 2 children. 3 years after her husband's death, she lost her first child in an accident. Her only son had traveled out of the city in search of better opportunities. Everything was fine until one day, he stopped contacting her. Despite her efforts to find out what had happened, she had not heard from him since. She still held on to hope that he might be alive and would one day return. As Ada listened to Mama Koko's story, they both wept. Mama Koko then asked about Ada's pregnancy and when she was expecting a baby. Ada replied, "I'll be 36 weeks along in 2 weeks." Mama Koko sighed deeply. knowing that Ada had no preparations for the baby. She comforted Ada, reassuring her that everything would be alright and that she would help her in any way she could.